now we can see that different process skills can be used by us too while doing the different experiments that we see in the nature. For example, you see here the different examples, children, the collection of the shells. You can see that there are different types of shells, shapes of cells also, isn't it? So here which process skills we can use to find the change in the different types of cells. That is, we observe them, observe the cells. How we observe? By our vision, isn't it? So it is a sense or sensory organ that we are using to observe. So here we use the process skill: observation, comparison, classification. These are the three process skills that we use in the finding the different types of shells. While collecting the shells, we compare their size, shapes, and also the colors of the shells, and classify them based on their sizes and shapes into different groups and keep it in the different groups. This is how we use our process skills in comparing the different types of shells. Now we'll see about the next example, like change in the rock size and shape. So in our daily life, we'll be seeing that different rocks are of different sizes and of different shapes. So here, which process skill can be used to find out the change in the rocks? That is, we compare, that is, first we measure the rock size and shape by taking the three rocks, the comparison can be done only if you take the different types of rocks. So you take three rocks, you measure its mass first. Then you put them in a glass jar with the sand water and shake it well. So after shaking, you can see that the size of there will be the change in the mass of each rock, so of which you have taken. So you can record the mass of the container, the sand that you have used, and also the rock. So here you record the data and you interpret with the already had before. So then what is the result or the interpretation that you get and conclude is that rubbing causes the pieces of rock to flake off and change in the size of the rock and also the shape of the rock. This is how you can find that there is a change in the rock shape and size that is occurred during the shaking within the sand water that is contained in the jar. Okay, so that is the next example. I told you to know to use the process skill at which experiment to do, which process skill is being used. It is based on the thinking. That is a tool. That process skill is a tool, is a thinking tool that we use. The scientists use in their experiment to solve a problem. Here the problem is why the change has occurred in the rock. Here the problem that is arised is that there are different types of shells, how they are, what they are. So we are going to observe, compare, and classify them. So like that. Next in the example, if you take, I have already told you this before, how that a light switch works. You know that a light switch works with the connecting two wires. It should have also a switch and also the bulb. They should be connected to one another. So how they are connected? By using a model and prediction. So what do you predict? What is the model that we use in the in finding out how the light switch works? It is in using a model. We decide to use a model of the switch and the wires in a wall. Then we can predict that the bulb, wires, and the batteries, that is electricity, that should be connected to the bulb so that the bulb glows, isn't it? So that is the prediction that we made. Later we can infer that the moving the paper clip, that is a model we have taken. So moving the paper clip interprets the flow of electricity and turns the bulb off. Okay, so this is the model that we used to glow the bulb or to off the bulb. So that we can use a model to make how the light switch works. So here we have used the model, we have predicted what are required to make a light switch work, and also we inferred that the switch acts as an interpretation to make the light or the bulb to glow or not to glow. That's how we can know this. Okay, the next example we can see about the different types. If you take the different types of towels and soaked in a water, how much amount of water that it absorbs. It depends upon the type of the cloth we have taken, and also there here the variables are to be controlled. So here what are the different steps that is followed are: first is hypothesis, that is possible answer that is to be tested. So if we can choose the different brands of the paper towels or the cloth towels that is required to do this experiment, and one brand may absorb more water and one may absorb the less water. So to know the absorption of water, this is the example. Next example I am telling you here. To know the absorption of water through paper towels. Okay, children. So it depends upon the brand of the towel that you have to and the time that you have used. So here the time and the water are to be controlled. So they are taken uniformly for all the three brands of the towels. So you are taking here the hypothesis, and plan and experiment is needed, and also after planning and experimentation you control the variables to draw the conclusion. Control the variables. What are the variables that are controlled here are time and water taken. Time taken and water. Is it clear? Uniform time is to be taken to absorb the paper towel in a tub containing the water. Uniform, that is the equal amount of water in all the three tubs in which the three paper towels are being dipped. Okay, so here after controlling the variables we can draw the conclusions. Draw the conclusion based upon the type of the towel that is being used. You can draw the conclusion whether which towel has absorbed more water and which towel has been absorbed less water. This is how we can draw the conclusion or use of the process skill in this experiment. So this differs from the experiment, that the problem that is being aroused. Process skill that the scientist or the person uses depends upon the problem. Is it clear, children? Next, I'll move to the scientist, how which safety rules that should be followed in a science lab. Every student also should follow certain rules, safety rules in a science lab. What are they? We'll see now. Okay, children? See here, children, the safety methods that to be followed in a science lab. Think ahead. What you have to do, you have to know what you are doing, study the experiment completely and know what you are going to do in the lab before. Next, you should be very neat and keep the surroundings clean, keep the work area clean while doing the experiment in the lab. Oops, that is sometimes glassware that is used in the lab may be broken or may be fallen down, or you may be spit it out. So you have to inform the teacher in the lab. Next, watch your eyes. So you should see that your eyes should not be that is a struggle, because many chemicals are being used in the labs, and so be careful with your eyes by wearing the safety goggles. And also yuck, that is should not eat or drink in the lab or unless and until it is being informed so, and should not taste anything in with the chemicals unless and until you are being asked for. Okay, so never eat or drink anything in the lab, that is yuck. And don't get shocked. You should be very careful while using the electrical appliances, and be sure that while using the electrical cord, that is your plug, you are removing the electrical appliance from the plug board. You should not touch it remove along with the electrical cord. So be sure that you are not pulling out the cord. And next, keep it clean. So after the work, completion of the lab work, you have to keep it clean and keep the equipment in their proper places. So this is about the safety methods that you have to follow, and these are the rules that should be followed. Rules, we can say that they are the rules or safety methods to be followed in the science lab. And at first, we can see that while doing this process skills or this experimentation by the scientists, the scientists also, they use the numbers in their investigation. What do they use? They use numbers. So how can you say that the scientists use numbers in their investigations? So we can say that they the scientists, these are the meeting skills, we can say these are the meeting skills that they use to give their explanation or prediction of what they have been found out through their experimentation, giving the accurate measurements. So they give their accurate measurements in the form of data or the tables, or through the different equipment they use. So they gather the data or the information through the tools. So they make the accurate measurements through their data analysis, and they make use of different measuring instruments while using these numbers in their data prediction. So the instruments like thermometers, clocks, timers, rulers, spring scales. What are they? Thermometers, rulers, scales, balance, spring balance. So these are being used. Spring scales and spring balance are being used. So they also used beakers and other the equipment, containers. Beakers also they use, isn't it? In the scientific lab. Glass test tubes they use in the scientific lab. So these are all the equipments they use to find the data, or to find the data in an accurate manner. So they get the accurate measurements by using these instruments like thermometers, rulers, scales, spring balance, or the balance that they use, or the beakers or test tubes. They find the accurate measurements. In fact, the test tubes, some may have the volumes in the capacity that it holds. Okay, so these are the different meeting skills that the scientists use in their experimentation, and they interpret the data by collecting, organizing, and displaying the data in their investigations. That helps to understand what they have learned. So for this, they try to interpret the data, interpretation of the data by using tables, charts, the pie graphs also they use. Okay, pie charts, etc. These are they use to interpret the data, and in fact they use the numbers in their investigation and interpret their data. So that suits the way to display the data they use, so that it can be interpreted by others. So the scientists use the numbers and to interpret the data that has been analyzed by them through the experimentation, by the accurate measurements that they get through the instruments, and finally they interpret in the form of tables, charts, or graphs. That is about the scientists. What is science? What are the different methods that the scientists use to find the truths of nature, in which manner they organized, or they organize their method in to find the truths of the nature. Okay children, hope you have understood this lesson well, and read this and be prepared for the next class. Okay children, next we will move to the next lesson. Okay, bye. Have a nice day.